It is another Light News Radio. Self-empowerment for the whole human being. The place where sick and tired is no longer of oneself. Featuring your host, Dr. Richard Jelisich, and co-host Deirdre Layton. Together, they finish each other's sentences, laugh, and take you from feeling hopeless to overjoyed to rock your world. And now, here are your hosts, Dr. J and Deirdre.
Oh, yeah, you just got to love that new bumper music. How energizing. Welcome, my friends, to Light News Radio, Realms of Self-Empowerment. We are privileged to bring you the tools and techniques to empower your life. I am Dr. J, your host, and my co-host is Deirdre Layton, who I'm often referred to as Happy Soul. Together, we bring you grounded spirituality, meaningful and relevant understanding of the metaphysics of what I like to call the whole human being. Light News Radio features interviews with people who have made conscious decisions to be seekers, those who are awakening the awareness of their spiritual nature and are walking their spiritual talk. We are your hosts, here to help you live a more self-aware, spiritually awakened life and to offer the tools and techniques to help you empower your journey. Come aboard and travel the light waves with us for the next hour. And woohoo, how you doing, Deirdre?
I'm doing fantastic. I really am. It's been a very busy month for me and a very busy last week. I had company here from Vancouver Island. My mom came.
The in-laws
for
have
visit.
left the building.
So my mom came out and for the long weekend, and unfortunately, it rained the whole time she was here.
So you got really close.
We got very close, and we got to go shopping in a mall that I will probably never walk in again. I can't stand the crowds, when you're out there. Oh, my goodness. We have this huge mall here in Alberta called Cross Iron Mills, and I don't know how many stores are in it. I swear I did 2 hours of walking, just going from one end of the mall to the other.
Yeah, that happens.
But it was nice because in my spiritual practice, I have learned patience and I have learned deep understanding and compassion from, a week's worth of rain and mall walking. And, it's been a lovely time for inner reflection and looking and deciding what I want to be when I grow up, if I ever grow up.
That is a constantly evolving thing. What we think of is, as some of us are just grown up kids, right? We never really did grow up. And, when I talk to people about that, I surely do hope that that's the case, that you never get to a place where you go, well, I'm old and this is what life is supposed to look like when I'm old. And I just don't think that's true. And I see a lot of people who are embracing this ever unfolding idea that they are who they desire to become, or to be rather, because, sometimes we get this idea of who we are and then we try to live up to that idea and eventually we crash because that person you see in the mirror, you're born, you're given an identity and a religion and you're given a name, and eventually you start asking the really crucial questions, which is what this show is all about.
That's right. And it's really interesting because, the more that I talk with people about what we represent, it was interesting. I was listening to an interview earlier today, and one of the questions was, well, what do you really call yourself? And it's interesting because when I took your 2-year course, Spiritual Healers Training for the Whole Human Being, at first I was really hesitant on using the word spiritual, only because I had grown up with it having this dogma or stigmatism of being that it was regarding a church situation, or it was regarding, some kind of religious cult or some kind of religious persona, but not at all. When you think of, spiritual or spirituality in the sense of, looking within and
Yeah.
understanding who you are, I thought, no, I'm practicing spiritual healing, a
I
form
think
of energy balancing,
I think that's where the term quantum became so popular because it was a very innocuous, inoffensive word you could use to imply the multidimensional nature of the human being without any kind of a religious connotation. And yet, spiritual to me implies the quantum and the inner seeker.
Right.
Not just a physics term that's kind of dry, but one that implies this search for the inner divinity that we all have, but that sometimes we're very careful how we label.
Right. Right. And I think that people out of their own upbringings and backgrounds come from a place of fear when it comes to, what their spiritual path is. And truly a spiritual path is learning about yourself, learning, to understand or master or the mysteries of life. And it's also, coming into terms with what your experiences are right here and right now. And I think that when we become more present in the moment and not worry so much about what has happened or what will come, that we find more balance and we find more peace and understanding in our daily lives.
What's really interesting is I've been doing this quote unquote work for almost 30 years now.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about, what you want to be when you grow up and, do we ever do that? But I still find times for myself when it is hard for me to stay present in the moment and not think about what is to come. So
Right.
I think it's that process that we go through, and I wanted to just lead into this phrase, conscious co-creative collaboration, because I was thinking a lot about this year, how when we do go through a process or a moment when we have a difficulty staying focused in the moment, that we got to remember that we're not doing this by ourselves, that,
Yes.
this collaboration is happening on the spiritual level, which is, I think, what our guest today, rather, will talk about the non-dual. But my point is that you're never doing this by yourself. You're always doing this with others. So when you go to a class or a workshop or even read a new book, the things that you do, you're not doing alone. You are on some level of your being doing a conscious, co-creative collaboration, although some of it's subconscious. But it's like people that tune into Light News Radio, you may have just, quote unquote, found this program, but really it works on a much more sublime level than that. Even our wonderful guest who's going to come on the show, and you're going to introduce him at some point, he came to a group of healers that I was training in Chicago that graduated in 2014, and he came as a guest, to get on the table and get some healing. But we found out that he, in his own right, is quite the healer and quite accomplished in teaching metaphysics. But that's not a mistake. It's not a coincidence, is because there are none. And so
Right.
part of the spiritual path that I just want to emphasize is that we really are always creating the means to emancipate ourselves from fear and doubt. We really, really are. It really is true. It's just that sometimes we don't take the power that we have and recognize and accept and acknowledge that we really do have that power to collaborate with
And
whatever we need to awaken ourselves.
And it's interesting that you talk about the co-collaboration because you just started a group of new students in San Diego this past weekend.
Yeah.
And the magic of that conscious or unconscious drawing or collaboration, that group energy, one of the students came all the way in from Las Vegas. So
To San Diego, yeah.
To San Diego. So, when you talk about being connected isn't necessarily being in the same city. It could be around the world.
Yeah, it's a good
People
point,
don't
Dee.
realize how we are so energetically connected on all levels at all times.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I think that it's important for listeners to know that, when you really put your whole heart and soul into something and truly have faith and believe, the energies that are around you that are supporting you are going to just do that. And it will manifest into something fabulous. It's being able to stay focused and allow things to develop and grow with ease. The feminine principle, allowing and not pushing. So,
Right.
it's interesting that we are having these conversations today. It's a lot of fun, and I really enjoy it because, life changes every day. Something happens in our daily lives that either changes us or changes our situation or awakens us to a new level of being. And I would like to just mention that if you're interested in finding out, listeners, more information on courses and events that Dr. Jelicic is holding throughout Canada or the U.S., you can visit our website at www.lightnews.org, and the calendar events is there. We also have a little box that you can click on and send us feedback, comments, concerns, questions, whatever interests you. We would love to hear from you. And you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and other various venues of...
I know, right? A whole cornucopia of means to connect.
But the best way to reach me is info@lightnews.org or 877-242-5721. And I do my very best to get back to you within 2 business days. So I look forward to hearing from everyone and, keeping us up to date with what's going on in your world so that we can help you move forward and empower you.
Just so. And did you mention the website?
I did. www.lightnews.org. Yeah.
Very good. Then I suppose that being said, it's time to bring on our wonderful and loving guest.
Yes, our guest today is I'm gonna butcher your last name, Masaru Kato. I'm hoping you can correct me, but he's gone through lots of changes in his life and was drawn to the mystery of life after losing his father back in 2002. And in doing so, he really did do a lot of spiritual practice for many years. And in that time, he's developed some really interesting tools and techniques that help individuals with their spiritual blueprint. And that's a direct quote from Masaru. And so we would like to invite you on. Are you there, sir?
Yeah, thank you very much. This is Masaru. Thank you for inviting this opportunity. I'm really honored to be here. I'm really grateful. Thank you very much.
We're very grateful to have you. Konnichiwa.
Konnichiwa.
Well, thank
because
you.
I'm a Japanese. The konnichiwa is just hello.
It's just hello?
Yes.
Well, hello. It's nice to have you on our show. Can you tell us a little bit about, you had mentioned in your bio that I have from you that, when your father passed away in 2002, it was really life-changing for you. Can you give us some insight into that, please?
Yes. And then to me, the loss of my father was the most tragic, saddest event. However, it is the most fortunate event as well to me. And let me explain. In 2002, when he passed away, the strong sense of guilt struck me really heavily. And then I lost the functionality at all. And I couldn't go out. I stay in the house day and night. And then I was so collapsed. And let me explain why I felt guilt so much. In 2002, when the medical diagnosis was made, it was the terminal stage of lung cancer. So
Right.
it means the death is inevitable for my father. And my father fell into the panic, and he couldn't make any decision by himself. And at that time, I was a graduate student in the U.S., and I deferred my study, and I went back to Japan to support him. And it was me who received all of the medical data about his conditions, because I couldn't show it to him because any piece of the data was suggesting that he would die in a few months. So I couldn't show it
panic.
to him. Right.
Yeah.
And it was me who was made all of the decisions on behalf of him, such as the whether or not chemotherapy may be worthwhile to try, whether or not what alternative therapy may be helpful, what kind of dietary treatment may be helpful. So all of the decisions I made on behalf of him. So
Wow.
You became his primary caregiver and yes, wow.
Correct. And then as he passed away, I truly felt I killed my own father.
Oh dear.
Wow. Because of having the responsibility for the decisions.
Correct. And I logically knew that I didn't need to feel in that way because the illness killed my father. It's not me. I logically knew that. But oh my God, the strong sense of guilt struck me. I started suffering from the insomnia. I couldn't get out for about a year. And it's like the free falling into the hell. Day by day, I falling into the hell. That's how I felt. And then one day, I decisively choose to change that course, change myself. And I started receiving the lots of therapies, including the energy sessions like Reiki. I started meditating primarily with the Zen teacher. And then day by day, I feel better and lighter. And then along with that effort, I started searching the solidity and stability in the human consciousness. And let me tell you why. A week before my father died, his mentality and personality, it were completely collapsed. He became a totally crazy person. He couldn't even notice me as his son. He couldn't even call my name. And
Dear.
Oh my God, it made me so sad.
Yes.
And then I was intrigued. Oh my God, is human mind, is human consciousness is such a fragile, and is that all? But my instinct is saying no. Human consciousness is solid at its deepest level. I intuitively knew that. Therefore, I started searching it. I studied a lot about the transpersonal psychology, Zen, Buddhism, so on and so forth. And then, so along with this searching plus the healing myself, it shifted my consciousness so much. I went through a breakthrough a lot, and then I entered into the infinite, eternal awareness. And
Is that where you, you came to start to call yourself what you call a soul linker? Is that where you decided to? And what would you consider a soul linker then? Is that?
Yeah, I think that, in other words, we're getting to the part of the interview where, you had this amazing breakthrough, and then I think what I'm hearing is correct me if I'm mistaken, but you felt more of a purpose to help other people as well?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
So I decided to sharing the insights I received through the attempt to heal myself after the loss of my father.
Right.
then because I sank into the amazingly deep level of the consciousness, one day I somehow found that I can share that deep awareness with someone else by putting myself into that state, and then I become the reference for others. So in other words, enlightened state is a natural state for everyone. And as you put myself into the selfless, infinite, eternal awareness, and then to be with someone mind-free through the heart, he or she gained the sense of familiarity. He or she is saying, oh my God, I am so familiar with this feeling. I am so comfortable to feel this. And then he or she is getting into the deeper state. So that's the state I am calling the soul link. In other words, I can connect your daily awareness with the very high enlightened state, which is the awareness of the soul.
Oh, I see.
That is very beautiful. I just wanted to ask you a question as well. When you were going through, the self-doubt and the guilt, as you said, you also said that there were times when you wouldn't go out and you wouldn't go anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I read an article about many people in Japan suffering from a word called hikikomori.
Right.
Where do you think that, over our entire planet, there are many people suffering from they don't necessarily want to go out, or they feel overwhelmed, or they feel like they don't know how to handle the everyday problems?
Right. So in Japan, a lot of people stay inside the house, not going out at all, whole through the days, whole through the nights, and stay in a kind of comfortable zone, as if they are the babies, and stay in the mother's placenta. So that is happened. I would say not only in Japan, perhaps it is happening whole through the world.
I think so.
And what would, is this something that people would be, is it a trigger? Does something trigger them to get to this state where they feel that they can't accomplish anything? Is it a time of the signs? What do you think causes people to lock themselves away like that?
Right. In some sense, it's ironic result of the respecting the individuality, and the education system is respecting the individual wish, individual hope, individually what they think they need, and respecting, and then that's great to nurture their independence, but at the same time, it invokes the kind of opposite result as well, respecting the individuality, and then they stay in staying in childhood. I would call it spiritual childhood. Let me explain. Spiritual childhood. When you are a baby, when you are in the pain or trouble, rescue will be offered by the parents, right?
Right.
Yes.
And then you internalize the situation. Oh my God! If I don't have a pain, rescue will not be offered. And many people are internalize the situation like this, and then therefore, oh my God! Rather than be matured, stay in the childhood, and then stay in the pain so that the rescue will be offered to them.
Yeah, and I can empathize too. I mean, your personal example was with your father, who, in so many words, you said was so very dear to you. And I can tell you, my own father, who passed in 2000, at the age of 84. No one knew he was going to pass, but he went the way he wanted to go, quietly and without a fuss. But I had felt for years that I had lost a part of my identity.
Right.
And it took a lot of work to to work through that. I mean, obviously I can still feel it, but I think that, the type of work that you're doing, and we'll get more into that, is to help people to not have to externalize a problem in order to get attention or nurturing or care, that they can get the nurturing and the care without having to have an emergency or the panic.
Right. So I am emphasizing the spiritual adulthood. The spiritual adulthood is this: you can feel your pain, but you feel okay as well.
Right.
You may not be able to eliminate the pain, suffering, or grief, or anger, but you feel fine by feeling who you really are, which is vastness, which is filled with the light, which is filled with the compassion, love, care, and then although you feel pain, you are fine.
And this is what some of the masters talk about, that this is just the body. And I just love the way that you're phrasing it. And now I'm just getting excited about the rest of this interview because I'm just really enjoying your insights. So we just appreciate being able to have you online. So Deirdre, may I ask you to press him for shameless self-promotion?
I was just thinking that. How could people reach you if they wanted to speak with you more after the show? How would people reach you?
Yeah, through the email, phone call, Skype, whatever, fine. But if you want to talk with me over the phone or Skype, I want you to make an appointment. And as long as it doesn't go over an hour or so, I may not charge you anything. So
and what's your email address so that they can contact you to make that appointment?
Yes, it is info at Atman Wellbeing. Let me spell it out. ATMAN Wellbeing WLLBEING.com. Info at atmanwellbeing.com. By the Atman is the Sanskrit which means the enlightened person. Which almost means Buddha in the Buddhism.
Oh, wow. That's really nice. When we are listening to you talk and are listening to you explain some of your experiences, I want to ask you, how the Western spiritual movement appears to you as someone who is Japanese. Yes.
Before talking about Western spirituality, let me talk about the Western way of thinking first.
Okay.
In general, Western way of thinking is dualistic, and it is because you speak English, right? And then when you think, you unconsciously use English when you think. So that means when you think something, you are using the logic of English, and then the logic of English is dualistic. Subject and object. Subject is doing something toward the object. So you naturally separate the subject from the object, and when you think something, you separate yourself from the world. You separate yourself from the Mother Nature. You separate yourself from God, even God. So the way of thinking is dualistic. And itself is nothing wrong. So dualistic way of thinking is necessary to achieve achieve something, develop the bridge and buildings. Dualistic mode of knowing is necessary. But it becomes problematic if you apply the dualistic mode of knowing for you to search the spirituality, because spirituality in its nature, it is non-dualistic. So, So, for example, many people are suffering from the emotional issues, sadness, grief, grudge, anger, depression, so on and so forth. And then it is as if each emotion is the heavy backpack for them. And then they are trying to take off that backpack and then fighting against the backpack. You as the subject is fighting against the backpack, which is the object, which is the emotion. And one who is suffering from the emotional issues is coming to see me at my office, and then he or she is asking me, "Hey, Masaru, with your energy healing technique, please blow it away." Like they are expecting me to create the energetic tornado and blow it away.
Right.
And
right.
It works, and it's nothing wrong. But my approach is non-dualistic. And if you are coming to see me with the emotional issue, I will let you to taste it deeper, taste the emotion deeper, and get into deeper and stay there. And I want you to allow yourself to become the emotion. At that moment, there is no subject and object, and you will get into the non-dual state. And as you allow yourself to be non-dual, this allowance will shift your awareness into the higher level. And then as you stay in the emotion, you will eventually reach to the infinite, vast, the light consciousness. And then although you are not eliminating the emotions, you will feel okay. This is something I already mentioned in the spiritual adulthood. So this is how I help, So
so that I have a question right there. Is you said people who come to your office, and so many people that we've interviewed who are healers can also work remotely. So let's say somebody lives in Seattle and you're in the Chicago area. Can you work with someone by Skype or over the phone?
Yes. And I am serving my clients overseas. I have a client in Germany, Japan, and China, so I can serve them anywhere. And interestingly, as we are connected over the phone or Skype, we can efficiently proceed the healing more than without the connection. So I don't know why, but if you connected with me over the phone or Skype, I can easily see your energetic state, and then I can give you some shift easier than without connection.
Right, because there is no time and space, and we are all connected.
Right.
You talk about this a lot in your training, Richard, is the oneness and the connection. And we also talked about this earlier before we started the show, when we were just doing our introductions about the connectedness and how people are drawn together. And it's interesting that you have clients overseas, and you explain exactly what I know that Dr. Jelicic does when he works with his clients overseas, is that there really is nothing in a way of time or space. You know, when you get out of that duality that you were talking about and come back into the oneness, there is no such thing as time or space. And so it's easy to energetically or to connect on a spiritual level to the others that you want to connect with. And so when you're working with them, and like we said, your spiritual core message is you are not alone. How do you work with them to help them realize that they're not alone?
Right. And that's a very tough question. And it is something I'm always thinking. So, and for myself, through my healing practice, I am very convinced that I'm not alone. I feel I am one with everything, and I am supported by the universe. And if you choose to meditating with me, you can get the glimpse of that oneness. But how I can let vast majority of people be convinced that they are not alone. And honestly, to answer your question, I have been searching for it. But at least what I'm doing right now is at almost every night, I am wishing and making a prayer for all people on this planet, and they hoping that they will know that they are not alone. So in other words, I am energetically sending out the wave of trust.
And love.
Trust ourselves and love ourselves.
Yeah.
And although it is a very subtle energy, not so many people may not notice it. And even if you notice it, you will not notice it is coming from me. But you will notice the wave of trust and love. And then if you feel it, I believe you will do the same. You will sending out the same message to the world to illumine the world and sending the love to the world. And then one day, day by day, more and more people are doing the same. And then I don't know how many years we need, but 1,000 years later, most of us will be convinced that we are all one. So that's
two.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, there's 2 points I want to make. On your website, there's a quote you have, and the quote is, "It is not a matter of destroying fear, but of knowing its nature, and of seeing it as a less powerful force than the power of love." That's Barbara Ann Brennan. And the other point I want to make is one of my main teachers is Dr. Hiroshi Motoyama, and he was the head priest of the Tamamitsu Jinja in the Kichijoji province of Tokyo, which Tamamitsu is one of the chief gods, if you will, of the nature kingdom. And Dr. Motoyama said that you can usually tell how someone is in their spiritual path by the way they speak. Like if they start to speak in more universal terms, usually they are a little bit more awakened or aware. And so the fact that you send these prayers out to the world every night is a very selfless thing. And, part of my work in a radio program is to draw attention to those people that Deirdre and I feel are, if you will, walking your talk, that you're the real thing rather than someone who's just saying they're metaphysical, but someone who's actually doing the work. So that type of authenticity is what is the genuine spiritual work that Deirdre and I are working so hard to bring to the world, to say, yes, there really are people out there that really are doing the work, that really are the real thing. So we just congratulate you on your work and on the blessings that you bring to this world.
Oh, thank you very much, Dr. J. I am very moved to hear that. I'm very grateful to hear that. Thank you very much.
If there was one thing that you would give to our listeners today as a tool or a phrase or something, what would
before you do that, Dee, excuse me for interrupting you. I'm sorry, but can you go to the question before that?
We did that one.
Your core spiritual message is you're not alone?
Yeah.
Where was I?
I don't know. We were talking about that right before you we've been talking about his not alone.
I must have been in a different dimension. I apologize. Well, very good. I'll have to go back and listen to it later.
Yeah, so Dr. J, I have just said, so I don't know the answer to convince others they are not alone. I don't have the concrete idea how I can convince them, but at least I am sending out the wave of the trust and love
every night.
Yes, you remember now? Yeah.
Yeah. What's my name? Quick.
We're not going to give you a hard time. You've had a hard week. But I was going to ask you, Masaru, if you could share with our listeners a tool or a phrase or something that they could walk away with from the show today that would empower them or on some level. If you had something that you could say to them that they could walk away, what would you say?
Okay, the first thing is, if you are suffering in some pain, that pain makes you compassionate. And then as you get the compassion, that will help others. So in that sense, the pain is the treasure for you. And then the same thing for your sensitivity. And I got a lot of clients who are so sensitive and so scared to be attacked, surrounded by the pressure, threats, and so on and so forth. But your sensitivity is the treasure too. Sensitivity is varying among people, and you have your own sensitivity. But somebody in this world needs your sensitivity. Your sensitivity can help somebody on this planet. So in that sense, your sensitivity is treasure too. So basically my message that you have the treasure inside of you. And then somebody on this planet needs your treasure. So that's my message.
Oh, that is so beautiful.
Yeah.
It's so true. Deirdre, what do you think about that?
I was just going to say, being able to, that really comes from a place of love and compassion, because you're connecting, you're honoring them, and you're honoring what's going on. So thank you for that. Thank you very much for that.
I thought that was very beautiful, because the word treasure is not something we associate with those things within us, especially those things that cause pain and suffering. But the way that you put it is from such a loving standpoint. Mm-hmm. I feel truly that our listeners will get it, that they'll understand your meaning.
Thank you.
So listeners, again, if you are looking to reach out and have a session with Masaru, you can reach him at info@atamanwellbeing.com. You can find him on Skype at Ataman Wellbeing. Or may I give your phone number out?
Yes.
His phone number is 847-989-4261. And of course, listeners, this show is being recorded live and will be up on our Spreaker radio station to download and to share. So please do. And if you have any questions or concerns about today's program, you can also email me at info@lightnews.org, and I would gladly connect you together with Masaru.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
You're very welcome.
And Atman is ATMAN. So it's Atman Wellbeing, all one word, atmanwellbeing.com. And if you ever lose any of the connectivity information, just get a hold of us or go to our website at lightnews.org, and we will be happy to reconnect you with the wonderful and amazing people that I personally feel we are blessed with, because, that is that conscious collaboration where Masaru was led to us, but we were also led to him to be able to share his knowledge and his light with all of you.
And even though your message came from a place of darkness for you in 2002, it has certainly turned into a beautiful place of light. Mm-hmm. And so thank you for sharing that with us.
You are so welcome.
All right.
Yes.
Well, Richard, we have so much on the go. Or you have been a traveling maniac. I have been a traveling maniac, and it's a lot of fun. Can you tell me a little bit about your last weekend in San Diego? What did you do last weekend there, sir?
Well, San Diego is my home base, and so I'm always looking to start new groups here in San Diego as well. For the healers training, we had an introductory weekend, which means not just those people, but others can join in our program. I teach a 2.5-year course in spiritual healers training for the whole human being. And we had a lovely weekend here in San Diego where we started a whole new group of students. And like I said, one of them drove down from Las Vegas. That's 300 some odd miles. And we occasionally do get people who will come in from great distances to come and take the training because they see the value in it. So we just had a very, very lovely weekend. The students are eager and bright and ready to go to work. And, a teacher couldn't ask for anything more than that.
So when the students are working, energetically with people. What would you say that they're doing? Qualitative spiritual healing?
Yeah, it's very difficult to describe, although I know Masaru understands precisely when I say qualitative, it's a non-dual form of healing. It's something that you can't quantify, but it is a state of being that comes through the chakra centers like an emanation, if you will. And so it's a form of healing that is based on the chakras, where the energy flows through the chakras of the healer to the person on the table, and it affects what we call the 4 archetypes of the whole human being. And the 4 archetypes are the mental, the physical, the spiritual, and the emotional. So if you think about it, those 4 archetypes are what make up the whole human being. And so I developed this course a long time ago, and I'm in my 17th year of teaching. This, I think, this is the 36th group I've started.
Oh my goodness.
And we're getting very close to 500 students and graduates over 17 years. And of course, we have many students in the Calgary area, but we've also had Vancouver, Canada, and Camrose and Edmonton. But in the States, we've also had groups in Chicago, San Jose, Monterey, Las Vegas, and of course, San Diego.
Now, I'm just going to jump right in there and say I'm also teaching this weekend an introductory class in Camrose, Alberta. So if you are interested, listeners, please do get a hold of me at info@lightnews.org. And I can send you the information package of what the weekend will look like, because it's going to be a lot of fun. And, I just, anyone on a spiritual path or a spiritual journey, it's about helping yourself, awakening yourself so that you can help and awaken others. And I think that, that to me was the bottom line of why I started taking the course. But you're going to be in San Jose, California this coming weekend.
And it's interesting, too, because there's 2 parts to that. One is, a lot of the healers in San Jose that I'm training are ordained ministers. They've been reverends or spiritualist reverends for many years. And, some people take spiritual healers training, but they don't intend to go out and do spiritual work or hang out a shingle. But a lot of people who take healers training do it just simply for their own spiritual development. So that way, if you take the training, you know, well, gee, am I supposed to go work on people? No, you actually are developing yourself by taking this training.
Well, this weekend in San Jose, you are teaching what we call level 6 and 7. And these are the levels that the general public can actually come out and experience free energy work. So
that's right.
Where will you be? Where will you be this weekend?
Well, because up until then, they're only allowed to work on each other until they reach a certain point. So we are at the headquarters of the Universal Church of the Master, which is located in San Jose at 1361 South Winchester Boulevard. And if you need directions or whatever, you can always, contact us by email, the phone, the website, lightnews.org. And I think, Deirdre, that you've already published the address on our calendar, right?
I believe so. I believe it's published. And if it isn't, I will double check. And you can check out our calendar of events on our Light News page at any time. And it's constantly being updated and changed and whatnot to be accurate and up to date. So,
and this energy work we offer for free. So if you want to come down and get some free energy work and balancing, please do so. Let us know. The hours are from 2 to 4. This coming Saturday and Sunday, and then Deirdre will also tell you about other ways that you can come for free healing in San Diego and in Calgary.
Well, we're working in San Diego to put together a venue that will be at least once a week or once every 2 weeks, where your students and graduates get together and offer the free healings and free spiritual balancing so that they can do their practicing. So we're working on a venue right now to get a venue set up in San Diego. But here in Calgary, we rent the building Families Matter, which is in the Trans-Canada Mall. We have it set up so that people can Skype in or be there in person. And we are every second and fourth Monday of the month from 7 o'clock on, and we go until we are finished with the group of people that are there. So some nights we don't get out of there till 10, and other nights we might get out of there at about 8:30. So I always say come about 6:30, 6:45, and get your name on the list, because it's first come, first serve by donation.
And once in a while, I'll Skype in and I'll help out too with some of the healing or oversee some of the healing. So, we're living in an age where some of our healers will actually Skype in to the meeting, and they will work remotely on you from there. Although, of course, there's always physical people there.
Yes. I also wanted to let our listeners know that right now we are doing a bit of a special with spring in the air and everyone, lots of change happening, especially here in Canada. I don't know if our listeners have tuned into the great fire that they've had in northern Alberta that is still out of control, but there's a lot of purification and cleaning or cleansing, as our dear friend Miguel Angel speaks of. And so to assist people with that, we are offering Dr. Jelicich's private sessions for $147. So it's a 1-hour private session with Dr. Jelicich, and you can book online through our website, www.lightnews.org. Or, of course, you could call me at 877-242-5721 or reach me at info@lightnews.org. And we're doing this because we feel it's really important that there's a lot of people right now that are struggling and trying to find their way. And I have had a lot of people say to me, I really want to have a session with Dr. Jelicich, but I just can't afford that price that you have. And so I've said, okay, Richard, what do you think of having a special? And so we've got a special right now for $147 for a private session. And these are recorded and sent to you as an MP4 or a CD afterwards.
Or MP3. And money is not a barrier to having a session with me. So if you feel the need, contact us. We'll talk and we'll get the work done, because that's what we're here to do. Is we're here to work together.
That's right. That is so right. And we are got a couple of big major events happening over the next year and a half. Of course, this fall we have very few spaces left, so we've decided that we will...
Wait, you haven't said what it is for this fall.
I know. Well, you just wait your horses there, sir. I'm getting to it.
Such a tease.
We have this fantastic event happening this September from the 22nd to the 27th. This is our second year of our annual meditation retreat in Sedona called Journey of the Sacred Heart. And because we have so many limited spaces left, we are offering anyone who wants to take the last couple of spaces, the early bird pricing of $1,550 US. This includes your transportation from Flagstaff Airport to the Butterfly Garden Inn, your meals and accommodations, excluding dinner. Dinner, you're on your own. But you can find out all the information on our website, www.lightnews.org, and go to the Journeys section. You will be leading us on some sacred ceremonies, and lovely Lisa Steele of A Balanced Practice will be leading Kundalini yoga meditations and whatnot as well. So it's an amazing weekend, 4 days of travel and excitement.
We even have a pink Jeep tour to an ancient indigenous site.
That one I'm so excited about. And in the works is our Sacred Plant Medicine Workshop for the U.S. and Canada, which will be happening next June of 2017. And then you also are off to Costa Rica
In April of next year.
In April of next year with Lisa Steeles to teach the chakras and Kundalini. So we've got, a couple of really cool events coming up. And of course, we would love to hear from you. If there's an event that you would like Dr. Jelicic to do in your city or your area of the country, please let us know, because Richard is open for speaking engagements and workshops for many different organizations, including you recently, I guess it was a year or two ago, you did a workshop for the Edgar Cayce Foundation or the Edgar Cayce Group, and you've done many events and workshops for many organizations. So public speaking does not hold you back. You're available.
Yeah.
What? Go ahead.
What's the guy's name that was in that movie with Tom Cruise? Definitely available. We have a lot of fun on this radio program. Do you realize, listeners, that next month will be 2 years that Deirdre and I have been doing this radio program twice monthly? 2 years?
Will it be 2 or will it be blah, blah, blah? Yeah, I guess it will be. Yeah. Look at me go. I got tongue-tied. Yeah. And we have some fabulous guests coming up over the next couple of months. Our next guest will be Thomas George, a filmmaker from India, and he's currently living with his wife in the United States in California. And he is the founder of a nonprofit organization called Heaven Global Alliance. And you can find more information on him through our website. You can get a hold of me and we'll get you more information on him. And then on June 22nd, we have Reverend Carol Fitzgerald, who will be our guest. July 13th, I am so excited to have back musician Michelle Qureshi, who is sending in some new music and meditations that we're going to air, and hopefully you and her can swing it together to do some kind of live meditation on that show.
We're gonna have to work on that. That's
I know
for sure. Yep.
And then on the 27th of July, we have Angela Lynn Gibson of Transpersonal Radio. So we have so much stuff on the go, and so look for us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Meetup. Find us on Meetup. We have our events on Meetup and Eventon, and you name it, we got it.
Practice that one, did you? You see what I mean about Deirdre being such a happy soul? What a delight. This coming solstice will be 6 years that we've been working together. And so it's just been really cool journey, Dee.
Well, I thank you. And, I have stepped up to the plate, I must say, in the last year with working with you and, helping revamp our website. Of course, we have had Aaron Teichrob and Rod Sternberg helping out with that as well. Yeah. And the thing that I'm loving about what's happening in all this change and whatnot is that I'm putting on that tinfoil hat and I'm actually doing some of the teaching. So, it really is enjoyable and I'm very honored. And it's, being a co-host on a radio show where we can have such fabulous guests as Masaru come on and talk about their life path. And then, of course, what's going on with our own selves. So just one more time, I would like to put in a plug for our guest today. And you can reach Masaru at atmanwellbeing.com, ATMANWELLBING.com. And you can reach him at info@adamandwellbeing. So thank you, Richard.
You're so welcome, Dee. What a pleasure it is to do this work. And dear listeners, we're so grateful that you're listening to Light News Radio, Realms of Self-Empowerment. Of course, I'm your host, Dr. J, and my lovely co-host is Deirdre Layton. So check out our Light News website calendar, always things going on lightnews.org. And thank you to our amazing and gentle guest, Masaru Kato. And of course, as always, may the principles of harmlessness and compassion be the ever-present, ever-constant guide of your every intention, your every thought, and your every action. And so it is, and so it shall be. It is done. Stay attuned, everyone.
Thank you for joining Light News Radio, where you are self-empowered for your whole being. Be sure to join us again in 2 weeks and connect with us at www.lightnews.org.